We've got Erol Morkoc with us. Erol, how are you?
I'm doing well, Andre. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Well, what's been going on this week? I mean, funnily enough, Roger Gewolf has pretty strong views on Hunter Biden. He thinks that this prosecution is a distraction in order to disguise the fact that the prosecution of Trump in New York is a shambles and a real danger to American democracy.
I think there's validity to that. Certainly it creates a duality that the Biden campaign can point to. It's a false duality, but they can show, Donald Trump's being prosecuted, but see, the president's only begotten son is also being prosecuted. So it goes both ways. But in a lot of ways, these prosecutions, and it's a very complicated, convoluted way, a lot of people are saying are a way for the Biden family sort of to deflect some of these other blames. And would they let Hunter Biden go down as a sacrificial lamb until they win the election? Absolutely. They absolutely would. So I think you do have some of that. And then you also are just sort of stuck with the fact that Hunter Biden lied on a form, and that form was linked to the public. And it wasn't the Republicans who went after Hunter Biden. It doesn't say in our Constitution you're able to have a gun unless you smoke crack. I mean, we don't want you to smoke crack, and we've created rules against it. But most constitutionalists are not fans of prosecuting people for exercising their rights. He was caught dead to rights lying on a form by people who are very anti-gun. So he almost wasn't really even prosecuted by any vengeful Republicans as much as he was just very guilty of a very specific crime. It does delude maybe some of the charges against Trump, because I know that some Democrat voters could point and say, look, our guy is being charged too, and his own son is being charged. But ultimately, I think it's a little bit of both. But Hunter having just lied so blatantly on a form kind of renders it all moot. He's
But
very
I'm
guilty.
gonna hand over. I'm gonna hand over to Roger because he's got so much knowledge on this. But the other thing is about Hunter Biden, the substantive allegations. By the way, I'm just repeating what Roger said earlier, so apologies to those of you that have already heard it. But the real substantive allegations against Hunter Biden are not addressed by this court case at all.
No, not at all. I mean, the allegations of his involvement with his father's business dealings, how him and his uncle basically laundered money for the Biden crime family, as the President Trump likes to call it. All of those things are swept aside, and we've basically got him on a technicality, and that does detract from, that conversation that should be being had before the election, because now they've tracked, I think, like, I don't know, 17 or 18 million dollars of payments from multiple interesting countries, we could say, to the Biden family. And that's not what's on trial. And I think that's a great point you made, because where is the discussion for there? And I guess the sentencing for this actually will be before the election. So if they keep the eyes on it, if they can create more narrative, I think the biggest thing you have here actually comes in the debate. Will Donald Trump offer to pardon Hunter Biden for all of this, and sort of see if that can be a way to have a dig at Joe Biden? I think there's a lot of gamesmanship that's coming from this, but we're not getting at the core issue, which is, where is all this laundered money coming? How are all these Biden family members receiving millions of dollars from shadow figures? And it's obviously pay to play, and this is corruption, and it's not being addressed.
Well, I agree. I think that the whole gun trial was probably conceived by the Democrats and the Biden family to accomplish three goals. One was to, as you say, show, hey, look, see, we're not like the Republicans and Trump. I mean, the president's not going to pardon his son. We're not complaining about the judge. We're not calling him a stupid traffic court judge. We're not insulting the jury. We're behaving like ladies and gentlemen. And, we're going to take our medicine and sacrifice our beloved son. Of course, this is in Delaware, which is the size of a postage stamp and has been controlled by the Biden family for generations. And of course, it's the friendliest possible court you could get. And of course, the charge of not signing this particular form, I can say as an American lawyer, is probably a little bit higher than lingering too long in the courthouse coffee shop. I mean, this is probably the least volatile charge they could find. He's not going to do any jail time. And I think I said this on several television programs in the last 48 hours. I think you're right. I think it will be a gesture of grace, and maybe even a coup de grace of Trump to pardon him, something his dad didn't do. I think that would be a very slick move. But I really don't think this has that much effect on the presidential campaign.
I would agree. I don't think that this is going to influence anybody. I mean, anybody who looked at what Hunter Biden did socially and was turned off by that has already been turned off by it. Nobody thinks he was a great father or a great person.
Yeah.
And this doesn't change anybody's mind. So I
Is
don't
the
think
argument, by the way, just to the two of you, is the argument in favour of pardoning Hunter Biden that it gets it back into the news cycle?
I don't think anybody really cares. It's irrelevant. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
No,
I
but
mean,
why would Trump do it specifically?
because it shows his power. It shows his graciousness.
Right.
It shows his forgiveness. You know, and for this poor senile man who has Barack Obama living inside of him, moving his arms and legs, you know, people feel sorry for him.
He's not a very good puppet operator because he keeps
He's a
falling over.
pardon me, he's a terrible puppet operator. He's one of the world's worst puppet operators.
I mean, it's when
I discovered
it's when
that Joe
Biden
Biden
fell up the stairs. That
If
got
I
shot.
discovered that Joe Biden died last February, I wouldn't be surprised, you know. And
It's true, Errol. He is like Brezhnev, isn't he? They just sort of rod his back, stick him on a bogey, and wheel him out.
yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't shock me, right? He doesn't seem to be there at all for the nation, for the international community, for his own family.
It would be a very
That's
cool
why he's a
move.
great candidate. He's a zombie candidate.
yeah,
It's
very, very cool move if Trump pardoned him at the right time, just after the day after the nomination, something like. Because I think you'll agree, Errol. I mean, Hunter is regarded as a pretty pathetic figure. I mean, the making his mistress his late brother's widow a crack addict. I mean, the whole thing is nuts. And then they can't get rid of the gun here. You take it. No, you take it. I mean, you couldn't write this stuff in Hollywood. So
Yeah, but there is a slight problem with all of this. So I get that any family has a black sheep. I understand that there are always problem people. But here's where it becomes serious. Where it becomes serious, Errol, is when the allegation stands, and I don't know whether it's true. I'm a British political commentator, but the allegation stands that as Vice President, Joe Biden, who's now President of the United States of America, engaged in corrupt activities in Ukraine because his son Hunter
and Russia and China
because his son and other members of the family were receiving illegal payments. Now that's when the joke ends.
Wait. I mean, you're making it sound like Joe was dragged along. Joe is the capo di tutti capi in the crime family.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll put it another way, Errol. The allegation is that when he was Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden dragooned members of his family into taking illegal payments so he could operate in a corrupt fashion in China, Russia, and Ukraine. And that, I believe, is a very, very serious allegation, not least because there is some suggestion that some of the oil deals themselves destabilised Ukraine and may have provoked a war.
Not only is that very likely, but it's not just Hunter Biden. Nancy Pelosi's son was over there too.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people with their fingers in that pie.
And this is what is going on with impeachment proceedings.
Because we all know, Roger, that part of the reason that Vladimir Putin says he invaded Ukraine, probably the honest reason, is because of the level of corruption in Ukraine, i.e. his own inability to corrupt it because it was being corrupted by somebody else. Now, the suggestion is the other person that was corrupting the system was Joe Biden.
Well, there are three reasons. There's there's Afghanistan, which was a total disaster.
Yes.
And there's the fact that, the state of Biden, and he knew he wasn't going to get much flack. That's why he invaded. As Trump says, if I'd been there, it never would have happened.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, but I think that the Hunter case will probably die out. He'll get a probationary. He'll probably be picking up roadkill on the highways on weekends for 6 months or something like that, and that'll be the end of that. The impeachment process, which the Democratic Obama-Biden machine cannot stop in Congress, is proceeding apace, but unbelievably no criminal charges have come out of that and been laid against either of them.
Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, Hillary Clinton's back on manoeuvres, Errol. What's she had to say this week?
Well, I think she believes that the D-Day invasion is on equivalent bravery level as coming out and voting against Trump in November. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to respond to that or even to process that. But she's a very dramatic older lady. I don't want to castigate her in an awful way, but that seems like a very awful thing to
But
say.
she's got form. When she described them as a basket of deplorables, that really was a huge benefit to the Trump campaign because it just showed the level of disdain that the
Yeah.
elite in America have to ordinary Americans.
Oh yeah, it's a level of disdain, and it's a level of disdain that Hillary Clinton showed to, her own Secret Service agents, as they've reported over the years. It's a level of disdain that apparently they have for people who have, sacrificed something for this country. And so, calling people deplorables and or indicating that if you're voting today in an election, you're effectively fighting against Hitler, and the supporters of this are now transitive property involved in that. It's more of the same. I think the only saving grace for the Democrats here is very few people on the right get the Hillary Clinton sound bites anymore. She's really echo chambered herself off, and she's not the candidate. But it's despicable what she said. She should know better, and it's embarrassing to think that she was at one point Secretary of State of our country, if that's how she
I
sees.
mean, I have to say, if you want to talk about corruption, that Clinton Foundation, I will tell you, a friend of mine said to me that the Clinton Foundation is set up in a way that if you honestly describe its activities, you will sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist.
They
I mean,
robbed, they
literally,
robbed
taking
81.
money. She was Secretary of State, Foreign Secretary in our money, and she was taking money off the Saudis, and the money was used to pay for her daughter's wedding. I mean, that is unbelievable.
No, she's the most corrupt person that we've ever had, probably in the role. She's destabilized, so many countries around the world, and then she turns around and has that sort of double talk out of the side of her mouth. It's she's been a blight on this country for a long time, and I guess we can't get rid of her. Certainly, I think the veteran community has had enough of kind of her shtick, though. It's gotten a little bit deplorable, let's say.
Okay, Erol Morkoc, who is a spokesman for Republican Overseas, thank you so much. When we come back, we're going to be going through all of the funniest stories of the day.